Has it been a nightmare trying to buy, build, sell, or refinance a home? Then wake up to the Real Estate Dream Team of Janice Bradley and Diana Rice Wilkerson. This dynamic duo provides you with up-to-date, honest information, credit counseling, financing options, and more. Don't listen to haters who say, you can't own your own home. Yes, you can. With Janice and Diana, call now and listen for them on the Home and Finance Show, Saturdays, 1 p.m. on WTLC AM 1310 The Light.
Good morning and welcome to the Home and Finance Show. I am your host, Diana Rice Wilkerson with Fairway Mortgage, and joining me is my co-host.
Good morning, I'm Janice Bradley with JB Real Estate Consultants.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We certainly appreciate that. We have a great show prepared for you today. Janice and I are going to talk about some things going on in the market, and she's going to talk about real estate and negotiating that deal, and I'm going to talk to you about lending and things that income that might be acceptable when you're looking to get pre-approved. So thank you for joining us, and just stay tuned. Janice, how are you doing?
I'm great. I'm doing great. And again, listening audience, welcome to the Home and Finance Show. You've probably heard us many times talking about it's the seller's market. What is the seller's market? Well, the seller's market means that there are more buyers than there are sellers, and you're just going to hear this over and over and over again. So what does that mean? It means constant competition. So let's talk a little bit about what I'd like to talk about. There seems to be sometimes where, everybody's going to talk to one another. In other words, what my brother or my sister or friend, how when they bought real estate, how that worked for them. Either they got money back or just all kind of different things. Well, things change, as the world turns. I think there is a TV station called that, As the World Turns.
So, maybe.
And with this market, things change every single day. So what I really want to make sure that we understand is really listening audience and new buyers. What is your investment? What is going to be required for you? And you need to know that really up front, because again, things are moving so quickly. And when we're writing an offer, you need to absolutely respond to what that purchase agreement is dictating. So let's talk about your out-of-pocket expenses, the investment needed. First of all, earnest money. What is earnest money? So basically, it's good faith money. You are sharing with the seller that you are willing and you want to buy their home in good faith, and you want to make sure that they know that that you're going to go through the process and doing everything possibly, to get this particular offer. All right, so earnest money, what is that going to be? Well, in today's terms, I tell you what, it's usually 1% of whatever the sales price is. So if it's $100,000, be prepared for $1,000. Does that mean that you can't negotiate? Sure you can. But remember I talked about the fact of it being a seller's market? Well, you want to look good on paper. So if you're investing $1,000, that's going to really look good for you. All right, so let's talk about inspections. You're going to need also money for an inspection. What is an inspection? The inspector goes and checks all the major components of the house. That can normally be from $350 maybe to $500, depending on the services. There may be a termite inspection that could be extra. There could be a radon, mold. It just really depends on the services. But you need to talk to the inspector before you actually have them go out to inspect the property with you and see exactly how much it's going to cost. But be prepared. That's the key. An appraisal. Now, let's not confuse the appraisal with the inspection. The appraisal is giving you value, okay? So you need to be prepared for that. Then the lender does send that out to a third party because they want to make sure that the value is there for your purchase agreement. That could be from anywhere around $500. So I just wanted you to know, but to be prepared with that. So these are the out-of-pocket expenses that are necessary. These are the things you really want to make sure that you are prepared to do once you find that house. Diana, anything you want to add to that?
I would like to add that to that. So one of the things that buyers tend to say to me when they're calling to get pre-approved, and we do talk about these things, it's like, oh, wow, that is a whole lot of money, that I have to come up with. I don't have that much. Well, just know that you can always use your credit card or your debit card to pay for your appraisal and your home inspection. Now, I'm not sure about your earnest money. Is that allowed? Can someone put earnest money on a credit card or a debit card?
I've not had that.
And that's probably a good idea not to use a credit card, because I know if it's borrowed money, it gets to be a little bit messy when it comes to the loan process.
Right.
But one of the things
lenders get picky.
We do get picky.
Okay.
But one of the things we just want you to know is there are other ways to take care of the inspection and the appraisal so that it's not a lot of money coming out of your account up front.
Okay.
You can also have, it can potentially be paid by a family member. The thing about it is, do talk with your lender first. Don't just go do it. Talk with your lender first and make sure that that's going to be acceptable. So when it comes time for loan approval, everyone knows where the funds have come to make this deal work.
So that also would be the earnest money. Is that correct?
Earnest money, definitely you want to talk to your lender.
Okay.
We're not so picky. We're not, and I do work for Fairway. We're not so picky about who paid for the inspection and who paid for the appraisal. We
Okay.
get real picky about the earnest money.
All right.
Because that money is going toward the actual purchase of the property.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Very good. All righty then. I've shared some of the information that I have. I do have some more, but it's
Okay.
your turn.
Well, what I'd like to talk about today is income sources, because oftentimes I think people have income in their household that they may not think is acceptable when it comes time to qualify for a mortgage. And so we have very basic questions that we ask, and sometimes those questions don't get at the meat of the issue. So when it comes to income, kind of know some things. Social Security, for example, especially for folks who are retired, Social Security is perfectly acceptable as a source of income. Child support is acceptable as a source of income. We know that regular wages, self-employment income, also alimony, VA disability, disability income, foster care income, just to name a few, rental income, those are all sources of acceptable income. Now, the thing where it can get a little hairy is if it's rental income or if it's self-employment income, we're going to be looking at tax returns. And so in those situations, you know, let's take, for example, you do have a property, maybe you rent it out each month for $1,500, and maybe that's what you're getting each month. So what is often said to me, Janice, when I ask about other sources of income, a person may say, hey, yeah, I have a rental property, and I get $1,500. Right. Well, what we're looking for is what is your net profit from that rental activity. And what's going to tell us about your net profit is your tax returns. And your tax returns are going to show your gross rents minus any expenses that you might have in terms of maintaining that property. Whatever is left over that's on the bottom line as your profit, that is what we're able to use. But don't disqualify sources of income just because you think we may not accept it. Now, let's talk about income from this angle, and that is one of the things the underwriter is looking at is how long is this income likely to last? The magic time frame for us is 3 years. We're looking to see if the income that we're using to qualify you for a mortgage is likely to last for at least 3 years. Where it gets tricky with child support, for example, and we're looking at 3 years after the closing. So where it gets tricky for child support, if the child is 16 years old, then in most cases, child support is going to stop at 18. So in a case like that, we can't use child support because it's not going to last for at least 3 years. If a child is 10, we know likely it's going to last for 3 years, so we can. Let me go back to the child that's 16. If the child that's 16 is, say, in school and maybe the child is delayed, and so they're going to have a later graduation date, maybe they're not going to graduate to 19 or 20, then we can use that child support, because child support has to continue as long as that kid is in school. Not college, I'm talking high school. So again, just talk to your lender, make sure your lender knows all your sources of income. If your lender doesn't ask about a certain source of income, you bring it up. Hey, I do get this. And this actually happened to me the other day. My customer is a guardian for a relative. And she said, Diana, I am a guardian for my relative, and I get $1,300 a month. The Social Security check comes in my name for his care. Can I use that income? Absolutely. So just kind of be aware that, you know, everybody's situation is different. We have a standard application. We have standard questions. I think the longer you've been in the business, like me, you tend to ask more questions. But we want to prepare you to be able to help that loan officer be able to approve you for that loan and to make the process as easy as possible. So you can initiate questions, if you have other sources of income. Now, if you have a business, and certainly a lot of ladies now do hair, if you have a business that you are not claiming on your taxes, then you cannot actually count that income. I will say that on the traditional mortgage program. So on the traditional mortgage programs, you would not be able to count that income. So just some things for you to know.
A couple of things when you made the comment about after 18. So even if, what about the situation if the child support, as long as they're, you said in school, but suppose it still is college, and there has been an agreement that the whatever side is going to continue to pay child support as long as the child is in school.
Then that can be considered.
Okay.
That has to be very specific in the
divorce decree
or the support order.
Okay.
Yes, a very, very good question.
Okay. And then another question. I've always been kind of confused on this, but when the children in the household are receiving Social Security, so how do you handle that?
So when the children are receiving Social Security in the household, it's typically from one of two sources or reasons. One is because there's a deceased parent, and the other is because the child is disabled.
Okay.
And the check, in most cases, when it's a minor, the check is coming in the parent's name or the guardian's name. And that income is treated as the guardian's income or the parent's income. Okay. So it's perfectly acceptable as a source of income.
So what about up to 18? Is that still counted then, or?
If the child is disabled, it can go beyond 18.
All right.
If it's because a parent is deceased, it typically ceases at 18.
I see.
So, but if a child is disabled, it certainly can go beyond 18.
Great information.
Yeah,
great information.
exactly.
We really appreciate that. All righty. Let's see how quickly we've got 60. I always look at the clock to see how much time we have, simply because I know I can talk. So a couple of things I want to talk about real quickly. And that is really dealing with buyer's representation and our responsibilities if you are representing the buyer. So let's talk about that. First of all, one of the responsibilities is educating our clients on the home buying process. Also, you want to be on the same page with the lender. So the lender knows what product that they're going to have for your particular client. You should also be pretty much aware of that type of product so that can be a win-win situation because everybody's on the same page. I personally think that is very, very important.
And I personally think it's very important too. And you should call the lender before you go shopping.
Exactly.
So once you get that pre-approval letter, real estate agents, one of the best practices that you can incorporate is call, especially if this is a new lender that you're working with. Janice and I do a lot of deals together, so we kind of know how each other works. But call that lender and make sure that you are very clear about the parameters for that loan program, and it keeps you from wasting your time and disappointing your client.
Well, actually, she always reads my mind, but that was my next step, making sure that the client is pre-approved before viewing and make sure the client understands that that is what it's going to take place. Okay, our job also as a buyer representative is to help buyers find the right property after understanding their client's needs. We need to provide the clients information that's needed when they're getting ready to buy a home. How do we come at that particular, it's listed for 150, but how do we know it's for 150? As buyer representation, make sure that we have shared with the information what's going on in the industry as far as what the homes are selling for, as far as like properties. Recognize any maybe tattletale or tail signs, they say, of any problems that may arise. There's just something about the property or something about the wording, and an experienced agent usually can, find that out. Always put your client's interest first. We do submitting and negotiating offer all the way through the home process. We also can refer. clients to other professionals. That's something we also want to be a part of. Review all documents and making sure that we understand them and our clients understand them before sending them on to the next phase of the process. So again, there's a lot of responsibilities that do go in for a buyer. We want to make sure our buyers are properly represented. What you have to understand is also when you have a listing, a lot of people think, okay, well, I can call the person on the sign. Yes, you possibly could, but that listing is also represented what we call a seller's agent. So again, you have to make sure you understand where the representation ends and where it starts, but it is something that you should be aware of. A buyer
Also known as who's got your back.
Who's got your back? Absolutely, I got your back. That's for sure. Hey, do I need a buyer do I need a realtor when I'm looking at new construction, new homes? You bet you do. That's something you always need buyer's representation, because we have responsibilities. We have a code of ethics. That I'm not saying anything negative about the salespeople that work, for their builder, but they're working for their builder. It's not necessarily for you. Not saying that they're not doing a good job, but you need buyer's representation for new construction. For sale by owner, what does that tell you? It means that the sale by owner person is representing themselves. So that is something too that a buyer's representation can help you do as far as negotiating. They're listing their house for 160. How do you know it's worth 160?
Right.
So things of this nature. Representation, again, is just having, like Diana said, having your back.
Well, one of the examples also that we talked about was if you're wanting to buy the house that you've been renting.
Yes.
And you say you were a renter,
yes.
Now you've become a buyer. Your landlord
Don't talk to that landlord no more. Say hi and bye, pay the rent. But it's on and popping now. It's on and popping now.
And you don't, no matter how long, we'll talk about that, Janice, because you say no matter how long you've lived there, you're now getting ready to buy it. And so you want to go through all the protections and have all the protections because it's going to be yours, right? After the fact.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's just a different game is what I call, and now the fight begins. When someone's buying the house that they've been renting in, well, I know everything about this house because I've been living it. I said, we're still having an inspection, because basically now it's going to be the seller's responsibility to make sure that they're giving you the home in good working condition. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, everything kind of works out okay, but it is different hats. It is different hats that we're wearing. Title work. How do you know that house isn't clear, or how do you know what liens are on the property? So we're going through the same process as being, protective. He says that I'm selling you the house for $100,000, and that's a good deal. Well, how do you know it's not really $95,000?
Right.
So again, these are just things we want you to learn and understand and pass on. That's one of the reasons why we love to do the radio show and, of course, the TV show, is because even if it's not affecting you right now, you might know somebody, and we believe in sharing.
New construction, got a couple of stories, because in our logical minds, and we certainly do understand, listeners and viewers, we understand that one might say, if the house is brand new, if I'm building this house brand new, what possibly could go wrong? Why would I need someone to navigate me through the process? Interestingly enough, in the last few months, we've had a few low appraisals with new construction. And so basically the borrower agreed and the builder sold the property for X amount of dollars. Just let's say it's $250, and the appraisal's coming back at $240. And there's no comps to support the additional $10,000. And so in that case, the builder doesn't want to sell you a house that's not appraising. So then the decision has been, now you have to take something out of your house. You're going to have to make some adjustments.
Exactly.
Maybe swap out the quality of the countertops.
Exactly.
Okay, because I'm out of my league. I deal with the numbers. I don't deal with the houses.
Right.
But if you don't have your realtor there to help you make that decision, or possibly even help to find comps to support that higher value, you're kind of like just kind of out there. It's not to say the builder representative is not going to help you, but at the end of the day, you guys, this is all about you. And you're going to be the one with this property for the next 10, 15, 20 years. And we want to make sure that you're happy and that you were given all of the support and you have all the protections that you need.
Absolutely, and especially with a builder, it's really pretty much one-sided. So that you pretty much, I always call it little ink. Anything, Diana knows this is just the way I talk. But they have little ink on their contracts, which is fine. I mean, because we know we love new construction, but there are certain things that we really need to watch out for, and that's what you've got your realtor for. And again, when my people are picking out different upgrades, and it's so exciting with new construction. We do understand that, but I'm thinking, okay, you're not realizing that it's ding, 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 where we are on the price. So let's just talk about what you gotta have. We always have that wish list, and then we come back down. I've even gotten to the point, fireplaces can cost all different kind of prices with different realtors, with different new construction people. I've gotten to the point where I say, you know what, you don't need that fireplace because you can only put it in certain areas of the house. Buy one, and an electric one, because, they have beautiful ones, and people start thinking about what they've seen on HGTV, and it's good, but they've saved themselves some money. So again,
I've had a realtor tell me once, she always goes to the design center with her customers because that's where, so guys, this is what you understand. Cost of an item does not equate to value.
Yes.
And that's the root of the issue. So it's just like with, I think Myra, who's the appraiser, talks about hard surfaces. There's a lot of like flooring and everything, it can have the appearance of something totally different, but at the end of the day, it may not cost as much. And so that's what we're dealing with when we're talking about low appraisals. In many cases, with new construction, we're talking about the cost versus the value. And so your realtor comes in and helps you make sure you're still getting what you want, but what you're wanting is going to translate into value as well. So.
Yeah, even everyday sellers, they're proud, of course, that they have a new roof or they have a new HVAC system, et cetera, et cetera.
Or a new deck.
Or a new deck. Well,
I just spent $30,000
and the
on
deck
this
is added value. I will actually say that.
But not necessarily dollar for dollar.
Right, but what tickles me is when they're thinking all of that, the roof and all. I said it's expected.
Yeah.
I said it's
Called
expected. It's what is expected to give the home in good repair.
Yeah.
So
right.
Again, yesterday maybe the roof being brand new.
Right.
But again, that's something that's expected.
Right.
So
even swimming pools. While we're on this subject, even swimming pools. I mean, if you place a swimming pool in your in-ground swimming pool in your property, that may not at all translate into value when the dollar amount that you spent when it comes to getting the home appraised.
The
so
key
kind of
is with
careful.
value is that value is in the eye of the beholder.
And the appraiser.
Okay. This is true.
The appraiser
this is
because
true.
the buyer may want to, because the buyer has fallen in love with the property, and then the appraiser comes in and says, yeah. So one of the things you may want to do, just best practice, once again, if you're the one looking to make improvements, check with your realtor and say, hey, how is this going to affect my value? Because if you're putting it in because you like it, because you plan to stay there and you're not having any ideas of selling your property anytime soon, it doesn't really matter. But if you're preparing to sell your property and you're making these upgrades because you're wanting to sell your property and get a certain dollar amount,
right.
You want to check with your Janice or your realtor.
Absolutely, absolutely. All righty then, so.
Hey, well, looks like we have a few minutes, and what I'd like to just speak about for a little bit are student loans.
Uh-oh.
Oh man, you guys, if we weren't on television, I would really have some straight talk with you about student loans. But student loans, student loan debt is maybe in many cases challenging when it comes to getting pre-approved for a mortgage. It doesn't have anything to do with anything other than the fact that the investors have different guidelines. So what I'm going to say to you is this real briefly. With FHA, which many buyers that I assist do require the FHA program, we're looking at 1% of the outstanding student loan debt or a payment that will fully amortize the loan over a 25 to 30-year period of time. It's either 1% of the student loan debt, so if we're talking $100,000, we're looking at $1,000, actually projecting $1,000 into your monthly debt ratio analysis, or a fixed payment that's going to fully amortize over a 25 or 30-year period of time. That tends to be, on $100,000, that might be a $600 or $650 payment. And so keep in mind, regardless of whether you're on an income-based payment program with a zero payment or a $20 payment or a $30 payment, that does not matter if you're using an FHA loan. In many cases, buyers do need to use that program. On the other hand, if you're using a conventional loan, the conventional investor does acknowledge your income-based payment. But conventional is a different duck. Tougher deal, stricter debt ratios, higher credit scores. So just kind of keep all of that in mind if you are considering taking out student loan debt. You know, best practice and ideally you would get your house before you go into a lot of student loan debt. That would be the ideal situation. Buy a home before you get immersed into a lot of student loan debt. What I'm seeing are people graduating school, lots of student loan debt, now trying to buy a home, not able to qualify for it. So that is just merely just good to know. Share that with your family. Keep that in mind. Along the same lines of debt that can get and prevent you from qualifying for a mortgage is these new car loans or new lease loans for vehicles. There's an initiative nationwide by National Association of Real Estate Brokers called the House Before the Car. And that's because, again, those of us who pull credit all day long as lenders, pull a credit report, person just took out a new car loan.
Took out one.
September, payments $500, $600, $400 a month. What is that doing? It's causing us to limit the amount of home you qualify for. So you want to put that in reverse. You know, you might need to lease a car, borrow a car, buy a hoopty, do whatever you need to do, but get your home first before you go into a big car loan. And don't co-sign for your kids. Tell them, put that on hold. If you do it at all, put that on hold and then come back to it. But take care of your home. Your home is a wealth building machine. That needs to be the first asset you really seriously invest in as soon as you possibly can. It may not be the home you're going to stay in for the rest of your life, but it is going to give you, like I said, it's a wealth building machine. It's going to help you stabilize your finances and a myriad of other things that it also will help improve in terms of your quality of life.
Right.
So it looks like we are winding it down.
We're winding it down. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great morning.
Has it been a nightmare trying to buy, build, sell, or refinance a home? Then wake up to the Real Estate Dream Team of Janice Bradley and Diana Rice Wilkerson. This dynamic duo provides you with up-to-date, honest information, credit counseling, financing options, and more. Don't listen to haters who say, you can't own your own home. Yes, you can. With Janice and Diana, call now and listen for them on the Home and Finance Show, Saturdays, 1 p.m. on WTLC AM 1310 The Light.